Hello and welcome to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Mel and I live on the Orkney Islands off the north coast of Scotland with my husband and our various animals. And if you're a returning viewer, then welcome back. Today is not my usual crafting knitting podcast. It is another one of those, not topical, but you know, kind of I would say project based, but it's not really project based, but topical video, shall we say. And it is my winter knitting plans for 2023 into 24, so through the festive knitting season of December and into January and February of 2024. I have numerous yarns beside me and I will pop up the patterns that I intended to make up on the screen to show you what I plan to use them for. So I think we'll start with, not chronologically, but kind of start off with the festive ones first and then go into the ones that I intend to do in the new year. So first off, I have almost complete a pair of Christmas socks that I intend to make a second pair of. So I will briefly show you one of the socks from the first pair that I have made. These are for myself and they are sparkly yarn and they're just a vanilla sock, and I intend to make another set of vanilla socks the same for my husband. The yarn that I have used is this one alongside this one, and they are both West Yorkshire spinners. The sparkly one, because it is a sparkly one, is in the colourway Vintage Tinsel. I'm just trying to find the ball band for it. It's a bit scrumpled. Let's look at the one for the other one. But it is West Yorkshire spinners. It is in Vintage Tinsel in this fabulous sparkly colourway. And the contrast toes and heels are in this lovely shade of blue called Blueberry Bonbon, which this is the ball band for, and that is colourway number 06, I believe. I'm not sure if Vintage Tinsel has a colourway. Oh, maybe 06 isn't right. Vintage Tinsel, it says, is 1051. Blueberry Bonbon, it doesn't say, but those are the colours. So my first project is to make another pair of these. The second one of my pair, I have about 5 rows of the cuff left to do, and then I have a pair of Christmas socks for this year. I am going over the water because we live on an island. I'll be catching the ferry tomorrow to go over the water to visit Mum, and I'm just taking sock knitting with me, which is why I have a couple of Christmas sock projects to show you, because I don't want to take a big item in my suitcase. I'm just taking small projects, so more Christmas socks than I had originally planned to make this year, but that's okay. So that is project number 1, or project number 2, depending on how you look at it. And following on from that, the other sock project I'm taking over to Mum's is another pair of Christmas socks. And again, it'll just be a vanilla pair, so there'll be no picture here. But I intend to use the Head Over Heels yarn by Stylecraft in the colourway Cupid, and this is just a self-patterning sock yarn, so I don't even have to take a knitting pattern with me away with me. And I'm just going to pair it with some leftover Drops Fable in the colourway 112, and it is this limey green, which actually looks nicer together in real life than it does on camera, because it does have some quite bright greens in the self-patterning yarn, which doesn't seem to want to focus today. There we go. It has some bright green in there, and they're going to be quite bright and, you know, over the top, and that's fine. It is Christmas. So more vanilla socks, and those will be my projects for the next about a week or so. And it is currently the middle of November. I think it's the 18th. So that kind of, I guess it's not really December, we're kind of at the end of autumn. But I would still class them as my winter knitting projects. So what else have we got in the way of festive knits? Well, if you've been following my previous videos, I am currently in the middle of making a Christmas cardigan. I am doing the Boreal Cardigan by Kate Davies in shades of red and white, so very festive, and I am steeking it into a cardigan. I won't be taking that with me, and I am sort of like halfway through making that, and you can follow my project progress even in my project vlog for that garment, and I'll be showing it on the podcast in the next episode, I'm sure. But I do want to make a second version of it, so I would like to make a kind of more of a wintry version, and I did mention this on my vlog, but I intend to make a navy blue and white version in Drops Nepal, which is the same base that I'm using. Is it the same base? No, I'm using Drops Alaska for the red one, but I'm using Drops Nepal for the wintry one, and I intend to use the navy blue for the top colour and the white for the bottom, so we kind of have like a night sky with snowflakes fading into a snowy scene at the bottom, and I'm really looking forward to having that. And I intend to do it as a sweater rather than steeking it like I have the red and white version. So I guess it's kind of festive, but it's definitely more of the wintry style. I'll be definitely wearing this at like January time, you know, or well, any time really, because, you know, I'm not really that bothered, but it's not specifically Christmassy. It's not screaming Christmas red or anything like that. So that is another festive knit. Now I have one wild card. If I decide I have enough time to do any more kind of Christmassy knitting, or if I really want to do something quite festive, and I will just check the name of this pattern before I pop it on the screen. You would think I'd be a little bit more organised. I had remembered, but I wanted to be doubly sure. But it is the Yule Book Mittens by Ellie of Scandia, and I've had these in my library for quite some time now. They are festive and they are Christmassy, which is why I would like to knit them during the festive period. If I don't get these done, it doesn't matter. It's kind of like an extra project if I want to start something Christmassy and it's still kind of December. So the yarn I have for that is Hulst yarn in their super soft base in the colourways Nougat and Venetian, which is this lovely rich red and this quite a neutral beigey grey. It's kind of a warm beigey grey as opposed to a cool grey, and I think they're going to look really nice. I just have to decide if I want to do a grey background with red detailing or red background with grey detailing, or one of each. I did that with the pumpkin spice mittens, and glad that I did because they look rather good. So I do have that option, and these are kind of my backup Christmas knitting project. Speaking of mittens or wristies, I have a pair of wristies I would like to get done. 2023 I've been knitting from stash, and I intend to do that as much as possible next year as well. I have quite a large stash and I'm trying to work through it, and most of it has projects already allocated for certain yarns. This yarn I bought years ago on sale, and it is Debbie Bliss Baby Cash Merino, and it is a single 50-gram ball. I knit a pair of wristies for Mum in the same base in a purple colour using the pattern Catching Butterflies by Tiny Owl Knits. But what this ball is for the winter variation upon it, and that is Catching Snowflakes wristies, or mittens. I think it's called mittens. They are wristies though. And I plan to make these for myself. This is a nice pale icy blue, and I am going to knit these snowflakes out of just undyed kid silk mohair. This colour is number 18. I don't know if it actually has a name, but it is, trying to focus on my cushions, it is a nice icy pale blue, which is very much more me, whereas the purple is very much more Mum. So that is the Catching Snowflakes mittens. I don't think it has a name, but it's Catching Snowflakes. So garment knitting. I have plenty of garment knitting plans for next year as well. I have quite a lot of yarn left over from when I was a yarn dyer, so I'll be using up some of that too. And yeah, so the first garment for the new year that I plan to make, it is one that I came across last year. I'm just scrolling through to check the name. It is the Easy V by Caitlin Hunter, and I came across this one and I like the unusual construction of the neckline, so I'm going to give it a try. She has another one called the Halloo sweater, which has a similar construction, but it is a lace yoke design. This one is a colourwork yoke, and it's a fairly simple colourwork design as well. I will just let the cat into the room. She's squeaking at the door. So we might have a cat joining us in a moment. She is wandering around in here. So I have about 4 skeins of this. I'm sure it's 4. This is one of my own hand-dyed yarns that I have left over. It is in a 80% superwash merino, 20% bamboo base, and it is this lovely kind of a blancmange pink. I don't know if anybody's old enough to remember blancmange, but it is a pink, kind of a cool pink tone. It is a DK weight, which is what the pattern is. And for in the colourwork, I have some options. I plan to use, I have a cat causing chaos, at least 2 of these, possibly all 3. All 3 of these are my own hand spun yarns. This one is in a fibre that I got from Created by LCB, which is one of my favourite fibre dyers. She is based in the US, and I think this colourway is rose something. Rose something? This yarn is spun with, let me see, what's on my label? Tussar Silk Merino, and the merino is dyed with madder, and it's very pretty. And then this one is, I think, just a merino. No, it's got some sparkle in there. It's a mixture. I have made up a random bat from this one, and it's very soft, and again, it's kind of a peachy colour. So kind of between the 3, I think they will look really rather nice alongside this cool pink. There's enough contrast for it to work, so we shall see how I feel. I will play around knitting up kind of a swatch to see how the colours work together, and then decide which ones to use, whether I just use these 2, I think they look really nice together, or whether I want to throw in the 3rd one. We shall see. We'll see what it looks like when I start doing a test swatch. So that is the Easy V. I have a couple more garments as well. One of them is another of my hand-dyed yarns, and it is in a speckle yarn. This one is in the colourway Yuletide Felicitations, which is got little pink and purple, gold and green speckles, but otherwise an undyed base. And I intend to hold double with an undyed silk mohair to knit the Pink Fizz by Andrea Mari. Now, if you've been here a while and seen a few of my videos, you'll notice a few repeats of these, because I would really like to knit some of the patterns that I've been meaning to knit for a year or 2. So some of them will have been on last year's Make 9 list. But this is the Pink Fizz. I have it gauge swatched, ready to go. I just need to get it started. I think my main concern was, because it's a bottom-up construction, whether it would be long enough for how I would like to wear it, and if not, how would I adapt it, which has kind of held me back a little bit. I can think I got a bit of not decision fatigue, I just couldn't decide basically. So Pink Fizz, Andrea Mari, I think that is the 3rd garment on the list. But there is one more, because I do love knitting garments, and I tend to wear garments more than I wear accessories. Living where we do, it's relatively cool most of the time, so sweaters are 10 months of the year, whereas I don't tend to go into town to have opportunity to wear some of my fancier accessories, so it makes more sense to knit more garments that I can wear at home as well as out and about. I have been meaning to knit the Ebra sweater by Ellie of Skein Deer for since it came out. I think it came out maybe 3 or 4 years ago, and I've had the pattern for as long as it came out. I'm not sure if I'm going to steep this and make it into a cardigan. There's a fair chance that I will, because I think it will get more wear around the home if it is. But I want to make a low contrast colourwork garment. If you can hear a little like tapping noise, Holly has made herself at home piled on a pile of stuff, and she's having a wash, so she's kind of rocking what she's on and it's vibrating and making a noise, so I do apologise. So I'm going to make a low contrast colourwork garment, which is not something I would normally do, but I do like the look of. And I intend to use Drops Flora in colourway 03 and 04. 03 being a light, slightly warm grey, and the other, or 04 being a mid, is it a cool grey? It's a neutral grey. They work really nice together. There are enough contrast there to see the pattern, although it's quite a delicate design, so it'll look really, really nice, but at the same time they're not so far apart that it's too stark. So that is, I think, the last garment on my winter list. After that we have a couple more accessories. Next year I plan on doing a quite large sock knitting project, and I would like to finish a pair that I started a few weeks ago. Well, maybe it's a few months ago now actually. I will show you the first one that I finished, because this will be the first pair of socks I plan to make next year, or finish in this case next year. I have one finished sock, and I will show the yarns in a moment, and it is just a vanilla sock, my usual toe up, Turkish cast on, knit the foot, gusset, eye of partridge on the bottom of the heel, stockinette at the back of the heel, and then a 2x2 rib. It's nothing fancy. The yarns that I used, the toes and heels is West Yorkshire Spinners in the colourway, is it cinnamon or nutmeg? Let's see, where's my project bag? I can never remember which one is which. I think this is nutmeg, or is it cinnamon? I think it's cinnamon, but it's either cinnamon or nutmeg. And then this one is by a yarn dyer that I bought this yarn from a fair way back actually. I'm not sure I have the tag for it, but I will pop the name up on the screen, and I'll put the link down below if they're still dyeing yarn. But this colourway is called Robin Redbreast, and originally I was going to do it with an undyed yarn, but I thought it looked really nice with this West Yorkshire Spinners yarn. So that's my first sock knitting project for in the new year, once I've got my Christmas socks finished up. I do like to have a pair of socks on the needles at all times. It's not, you know, it doesn't have to be, but I usually do have a pair on because I can just pick them up and go. But I also have one other accessory, I think it's just one, that I would like to do next year, and it is none of what I've already talked about. I want to make a shawl. I'm just checking the name. It is a shawl. It is called the Silverleaf Shawl by Lisa is it Haynes or Hannes? I'm not entirely sure. But it is done, it will be knit rather, in this gorgeous yarn that I bought way back at the Edinburgh Yarn Festival several years ago, and it is in Old Maiden Aunt yarns in the colourway Dreek. In fact, I think last year or this year she decided to stop dyeing yarns, which is a real shame because I have several of her yarns and I adore her colourways, or I did adore her colourways. But this is 75% superwash merino, 20% nylon, 5% stellina, and it sparkles just as much as my silver in my hair does. It is lovely and sparkly and silvery, and I love it. I have almost 2 skeins of this. I did use a very small amount for a Helen Stewart shawl last year, That was a winter knit as well. I can't remember the name of that shawl, but I should have enough yarn with this skein and what was left over. I think I only used about 10-20 grams at the most of the other skein to knit this other shawl, and it was what this was bought for, so I hope I do have enough left. And I think that's everything. I'm just having a quick check, but I think I've covered it all. There's a couple of other things I would like, but I don't think I'll get to them because I have quite a lot here. I would like to knit a cable cardigan, and I know if you know me and if you've watched the podcast before in the past, you'll know I really don't like knitting cables. This is something about it. I will knit lace any day, but cables, it's the having to use the cable knit. It drives me crazy, and the fact that it stops the flow of your knitting, I think, is what bothers me. With lace, you can just say, oh, you got a yarn over, you got a slipped SSK, and you don't really stop the flow of your knitting. But cable knitting, you have to interrupt yourself all the time, and I don't like that. But I would like a large cable knit sweater or cardigan, and I do have a sweater quantity of a light grey, I think it's Drops Alaska Aran weight. So I have yarn there, and I have the urge for a project, so we'll see. I don't know if it will get done this winter. If not, we can always do it next winter or later in the year. That's fine. There was another pair of mittens I did think about adding to my list, but with all that I have here, I just don't think I would get them in, so we'll probably leave that till next winter. So I think that's all the projects for the next 3 months, and hopefully I'll get through as many of them as possible. I know I do have some other garments that are currently on the needles that I would like to get cleared over the next, probably 6 weeks. Probably have 2 sweaters that are close to completion, so if I could get those finished off in between other projects, that would be great, because I don't really want to cast any more big garments on while I have my Boreal Cardigan. I also have my striped sweater, I also have my autumn sweater. All 3 of those are, well, other than the Boreal, which is halfway through, but the stripes, I only have 1 more sleeve and the bottom of the body to finish. The autumn sweater, I only have again, probably the bottom couple of inches of the sweater to do, and the 2 sleeves, and it's finished too. So I would like to get those cleared in between all the festive knits, and then be fresh, ready to start new garments in the new year. So I'm going to leave this video here for today. Let me know if you've got any other projects that you've got coming up over the next few weeks, like the Christmas period and the New Year. Things that are specifically kind of seasonal based that you're kind of looking forward to doing. I have a thing for, I do love seasonal knitting. I love knitting autumn Halloween projects in the autumn, and I love knitting Christmas and wintry projects in the winter. Summer, not so much. I kind of fall off the knitting bandwagon a little bit, which I think a lot of people do, bandwagon rather, simply because of the weather warming up and people tend to get a little bit busier during the summer months. But winter, I do love knitting seasonal knits. So if there's any you think I should keep an eye out for, drop them in the comments and I will look them up. And I will hopefully see you on the next video. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.